Okay, hi all, welcome to my channel. I am pre-recording this ahead of time before the new year hits because there are some things that you guys are going to want to get or think about getting if you're going to be crafting with me through the next year. Now, if you're a crocheter or a knitter, there are some tools that are going to be very, very useful and very important for you to either purchase if you don't already have them. If you have them, great, you're ahead of the game. And I may actually surprise you with some things that you may not have thought that you might need. Now, I know quite a few of you are crocheters. I've been crocheting for about 35 years. I am relatively new to knitting, meaning I've only been knitting for about 14 years. And between the two, I pretty much prefer knitting over crocheting. But I will be doing some crochet projects with you guys. And if you guys are not knitters, there will be projects that we'll be doing crochet-wise. So fear not, there will be some stuff that we'll do as crocheters. Now, if you don't crochet and you only knit, don't fret, because we're definitely going to do some knitting projects. So, the first thing that you guys may want to do if you don't already have one is go to Ravelry. And I'm going to show you on my phone. I'll hold that up. Give you a minute to put that in. It's a free account. It is for knitters, crocheters, and fiber artists. The reason this is very important to get is it has a lot of free patterns. It also has a lot of paid patterns. Now, what's the difference? Well, a free pattern is a free pattern, whereas the paid pattern is the pattern that you're purchasing, usually from someone that is really good with patterns. And we're going to discuss patterns going into the new year and why they're so important. But Ravelry is great. And before I proceed with the video, I am not sponsored by anyone. Nor do I want to be sponsored at this junction of my life. Everything I am doing is free of charge. I am not making a dime off of any of these projects or partnerships with any tools that I mention, websites that I will send you to, stuff like that. So now that that's out of the way, the reason Ravelry is so important is you can actually, if you start purchasing patterns, they will go into a library, which is your own library, and you are able to access the library at any point of the day. You can also print your patterns. They have a function to be able to print patterns if you have a printer hooked up, and it's a wonderful tool to have. It also allows you to put your needles as well as your yarn. And going into the new year, we'll discuss why this is so important. For example, this sweater that I am doing, and this is my husband's Christmas gift. It's a cardigan that I'm knitting for him. It uses 9 skeins of yarn, and I have all 9 hooked up with this project, meaning I know where they are in my stash, and they are pinpointed for this project. I also have more yarn, which we'll dive into in the coming months, and why I have extra yarn and what projects they're earmarked for. So Ravelry is a great tool to get you started with projects. So I am going to ask everybody that's going to be joining me, if you haven't already done so, sign up for a free Ravelry account and kind of explore it. You can find free patterns. Just put in the search, once you have your Ravelry account all set up, you can search free patterns, and you can also earmark whether or not you want crocheted, knit, or knitted. And you'll find a lot of great tools for that. So let's get into some of the other tools that you may want to think about. Now, if you are a crocheter, everybody is familiar probably with this type of needle. And this in its day was a very good needle. As a matter of fact, I still use this needle for some things, but you would be surprised that I do not use this needle to crochet anymore. One being is it's a very, very small needle. I mean, it fits perfectly in my hand. There is nothing wrong with the metal needles, but I don't use them anymore. They're not my favorite go-to needle unless I'm using it for a specific duty. And right now it's basically if I lose a stitch on my knitting, I can crochet it back up. And down the road, much further, I'm going to teach you guys how to correct a knitting mistake if you make one. They're also great for if you goof up on your crocheting to have the tool at the ready and stuff. So you might be asking, okay, what do I need if I want to crochet? Well, you're going to need a set of needles. This is a Knitter's Pro starter set, and it's a great, great tool to have. These are all what they call interchangeable needles. And in a second, I'm going to take it out of the case, and I will show you guys what that means. But the starter set is really great because it gives you stitch markers, it gives you a pair of scissors to cut your yarn, and it also gives you a tape measure. And down the road, we're going to discuss why a tape measure is very, very important tool to have. And this is a tailor tape measure, meaning it's flexible. It's not, you don't want to use a tape measure that is metal. And we'll explain as we go what I use this for. So I'm going to get out my needles. And this kit was not cheap. This kit was a $57 kit. Now, I know some of you may be not wanting to spend that much money. You don't have to. You can go on Amazon and get a good crochet set for probably under 20 bucks. But I like the interchangeable because you can use them for a magnitude of things. And this is what the kit looks like. You may be wondering what this is. This is a tightener. So these hooks will screw into this part of the crochet hook. So I'm going to grab one of my needles, and it just screws right in here. And this thing that you saw earlier, this is what they call a good gripper, so you can tighten your thing. And there I have a hook. Now, crochet hooks, European sizes will go by millimeters. They don't call them by the letter. And crochet hooks are lettered. They go from A to, I think, Q. I think there's even an R, but R's are starting to get really, really big needles. But most patterns will tell you use the 4 millimeter. Well, that's equivalent to a G crochet hook. So you'll know what that is. But kind of get used to millimeters because you'll find millimeters in a lot of patterns. And I just love this kit because it gives me options. A lot of times patterns will actually tell you to use different size hooks unless you're doing a specific pattern, such as a blanket that uses one hook. Well, I have all of the hooks right here, and they are a great tool to have in your collection. So if you can afford to get a starter set, I suggest doing that. Get the best that you can comfortably afford. Like I said, this is by Knit Pro, and they make really, really good tools. Now, they also do make knitting needles. When we get to the knitting portion, I will tell you why I don't like their knitting needles. But knitting needles and crochet hooks are very personal items, and they have to fit you. And everybody has different taste in hooks. Now, they do make more expensive hooks, and this is a furl. And if you type in furl on the website, you'll actually be taken to theirs. Now, their hooks or their needles are not cheap. They usually start at $15, and they can go well into the 50s. And this is one of my pride and joy. This is my pride furl needle, and this is a rosin hook, and this is a 5.5 millimeter or a letter I. And I'm going to hold this compared to the metal hook, and you're going to notice a huge difference. And I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison. This one actually fits comfortably in my hand, and I'm able to grasp my crocheting. And I prefer this versus this. Now, this is, like I said, there's nothing wrong with this hook. This hook has been around for a very long time. As a matter of fact, this may be one of my grandmother's hooks. And I'll get into her stash at a later date because I have all of her needles that I no longer use. And again, I'll explain why I don't use those hooks and why my selection might be a better choice for you. But get yourself some crochet hooks. And if you don't want to break the bank, Amazon, like I said, you can get kits that have multiple needles. They're great to have. So now that you have your crochet tools, the next thing you're going to want to start thinking is yarn. And we're going to be discussing yarn coming up, not in this video, but it will be in a video in the not too distant future. You can also buy your needles at yarn stores or big box stores. Now, I'm going to tell you the difference between a yarn store and a big box store. And when I say big box store, I'm talking about Joann's, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Walmart, any big box store that sells craft items. And what the benefits of those versus the yarn store, and what the benefits of a yarn store versus the big box store. So we don't get those confused. When I say a yarn store, I'm talking about a store that solely deals in yarn projects, yarn stuff. Big box, they have everything. And why you should go to a yarn store versus the big box store. We'll discuss that coming up in a later video. Now, if you're a knitter, there are going to be knitting needles that you should be thinking about. And yes, I have quite a few knitting needles. Now, my needles are sets. And we'll get, probably in the next video after this, we'll start to talk about what a set is versus an actual needle. And there are tons of sets that you can look at and you can get. They are priced anywhere from the low end of the $40 all the way they can go into several $100s. Now, my preference for knitting needles are these interchangeable. And you might be asking what an interchangeable. Well, just like the crochet hooks, these actually screw in. I kind of do this. So this is not a fixed needle, and I don't know if this will... I was actually using this, so... Oh, yeah, there it goes. Okay. So this is what a interchangeable needle is. Basically, you're screwing any size needle into a cable. And this is a cable. And like I said, we'll get into what this is used for and what the difference is between this and an actual straight lined knitting needle. Interchangeables are really great, and my preference is Shigoo. I have a full set of Shigoo, but I also might surprise you and let you know I have another full set of Hayas. And we'll discuss what the difference is in the next video of needles and why I am drawn to the Shigoo versus the Haya. So, those are key elements for you to think about getting as we go into the new year and start some crafts. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments down below if you already have some of these items or if you need guidance on what you want to look for when you're shopping for needles. Till the next time, craft on and enjoy your crafts, because we're going to get into some great crafts.